Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes, and tonight Southampton start an almost mini tour of England in the Premier League as they have 4 away games in a row. Tonight they kick it off with a trip to Elland Road to face Leeds United. We've got a packed show with team news as we get it. We'll also be looking back at a famous win over Leeds and also make sure to get your comments in, and I'll try to read as many of those out through the show. But joining us once again, we have Dean Hammond and Adam Leach talking us through everything before the game. How are you doing, gentlemen? Adam, it's lovely to see you back with us.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I was a bit sad that I missed the game at the weekend. It was a great result for Saints. I did watch it from afar and really enjoyed the performance. So I'm hoping for more of the same now I'm back tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It was a much-deserved point. And Dean, a few days since I've seen you last. Are you keeping well?
Yeah, I've missed you, Steve, to be honest. The 2 days is too long, mate. No, but I'm very well. Very well. Enjoying the weather, to be honest. It's very nice in Sussex. The sun's out, which is great. So signs of spring on the horizon. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm smiling.
It's almost like it's come early. We are going to be getting the team news in around about 13 minutes time, but I've got some early team news to start things off. Stuart Armstrong missed the last game, but we know he's made the trip to Elland Road, so we're not sure whether he's going to start or be on the bench. Carl Walker-Peters, Mohamed Diallo, Theo Walcott, Will Smallbone and Michael Obafemi are all still out, and we don't think there are any other injury concerns at the moment. So, Adam, as is your first show back in a little while, how do you think the team's going to line up tonight?
To be honest, I think with what's available, I don't really foresee many changes. I guess the only thing is that Ralph will have seen, obviously, the guys in training up close. If there's any fatigue from the weekend or any sort of, he feels there's any fresh legs required in some areas, then fine. But I think when you actually look at what's available to him tonight, I think you probably stick with what you've got. Stu Armstrong, I think, will be a live contender to come back into the team if fully fit. But given he was rated as 50-50 for this game, it might be that Ralph doesn't want to start him. And maybe he's a great option for half an hour from the bench to give Saints a bit of something different for half an hour. The other option, I guess, that's a real live option potentially is Che Adams coming in. And that's something that Ralph could do. He's obviously a big physical presence against a Leeds team where you're going to need to press and close their defenders who are pretty comfortable on the ball. But overall, I think that if everybody's fit, that was a morale-boosting performance at the weekend. So probably keep it the same.
Yeah, okay. And Dean, do you think Ralph will make any changes to the team that drew with Chelsea?
No, I totally agree with Adam. I think the manager will be very pleased with the performance against Chelsea, especially from a defensive point of view, how disciplined they were, how much they concentrated. At the weekend, Chelsea had long periods of time with lots of possession. I think that could be very similar tonight. Leeds are a possession-based team, so they're going to have a lot of the ball, and it's going to need that concentration and discipline again. So I don't think there'll be many changes. Like Adam said, you could potentially bring Stuart Armstrong back in if he's fit. If not, he's a brilliant option to have from the bench to impact the game. And Che Adams potentially just to add that physicality in the forward run, to add that energy. But it all depends. If the players are fit, if they're healthy, the confidence levels would have been raised from the result against Chelsea. I think the manager's shown and proved during the season, especially during the best periods for the club, that he's kept a consistent team. And if the team's performing, you'd like them to go again. So I could see the same team playing out tonight.
Yeah, Dean, just sticking with you quickly, Moussa Djenepo did have a game to remember at the weekend. Was that one of his best performances for you?
I think it was. I think he's growing. I think he's benefiting from the fact that the manager seems to really trust him. He likes to play him if he's fit. And just, the tackles he made, the discipline he showed, the focus and concentration in defensive areas were brilliant. We're seeing from the clips here the amount of interceptions he made, the amount of energy he used to get close to people was brilliant. He really played for the team at the weekend, and obviously at times he showed some brilliance there where he moved the ball away from 2 or 3 players, protected it, then came out and used a step over. He was brilliant, really, really committed. Obviously, we'd like to see him in more attacking areas to show that flair, to show that creativity. But it looked like he'd been asked to do a job against Chelsea, to be more disciplined, and he really showed his worth at the weekend. So very, very impressive. And he looked fit as well, which is good because he's had a few injury worries, a few injury concerns, not been able to get that consistent run in the team. But I think if he can perform like he did against Chelsea and he can build on that, and then he can add them little bit of extra magic, them moments of magic that we've seen in flashes, I think he's going to be a really, really successful player at the club. So, no, a really strong performance, and I'm sure he'll be in the team again tonight.
Adam, I think we can agree that Moussa has had his struggles since joining Southampton, but Ralph seems to have kept his faith in him. Is it now the time that Moussa should be showing his qualities on a more consistent basis for the team?
He has to, Steve. He just has to. I think he's reached a point where, yeah, he's kind of had his bedding in phase now, and that consistency is really key. As Dean said, he needs to be getting out on the pitch week in, week out, playing, performing. And it was an really interesting performance against Chelsea, because I felt almost like it was slightly, I could end up contradicting myself if I'm not careful. Because we were talking about Moussa a couple of months ago, and I said that I kind of felt that maybe his attacking talents have been blunted somewhat because of his desire to, in fairness to him, to try and fit into Ralph's system, to show that extra discipline, to be more defensive minded, and that maybe he'd lost his attacking edge. And then after Chelsea, I felt like that's the best performance that I'd seen from him, but it was very much a performance that was great because it was so defensively disciplined rather than it had loads and loads of attacking flair. There were a few nice moments, but it was more a disciplined performance. I think that bridging that gap, therefore, is going to be the key for Moussa. He's shown, I think, really admirable application to his job to really change his game in many ways, from a sort of somebody who came in who looked like he would be a really erratic type of X-factor type of attacking talent, to somebody who's really obviously trying desperately hard, both mentally and physically, to provide the team what Ralph wants and the discipline that he demands. But you've still got to have that attacking threat from him. He still has to be able to produce that. And while I feel like against a Chelsea, that discipline is probably more important. When you play against a Leeds, for example, yes, he needs some discipline, but probably they need more of that attacking threat from him. So I think the big challenge for him and for Ralph is going to be to see if they can, between them, find that perfect balance for him, whereby he contributes to the team, but he also really poses the attacking threat that is pretty obvious he's got in his raw pace and his raw talent.
Yeah, well, we'll find out in just about 6.5 minutes' time whether Moussa is going to start tonight against Leeds. But we have talked about that much deserved point against Chelsea on Saturday, so let's remind ourselves of the highlights of that one.
All the supporters around the city and around the south and around the world desperate and hoping that their bad run has bottomed out. Now Reece James looks up from the right-hand edge of the box, finds a lofted ball to Alonso, and he's volleyed it wide, 2 yards. And it was classic Chelsea counter-attack. Good play from Redmond off the right. 1-2, and a great ball to Minamino between the two defenders. In the box, Minamino. Oh, it's a fantastic finish. He dummied it and put Mendy on his backside, and then he slipped it in with his right foot. It's going to be Alonso's left foot, curls it to the back post, big header, and pushed away for a corner by McCarthy to his left. Callum Hudson-Odoi, little neat ball into Mason Mount. He tried to pull it back. He wants a penalty. He's getting a penalty. And Chelsea have an opportunity to draw level. And Chelsea, 9th minute of the second half, trying to get all square on Saints and peg them back, and they have. He sent McCarthy the wrong way, and Mason Mount equalises for Chelsea. Redmond, one-on-one with Azpilicueta. Beats him with a shuffle. It goes across the box, and then Vestergaard heads it onto the crossbar. And Ings puts the follow-up behind for a goal kick to Chelsea. But Vestergaard stooped. He scored at Chelsea, of course, to give Saints a point, and that one would have given them the lead. Remains 1-1. It's good work from Mount, and he pulls it back across the 6-yard area, and it's smashed over the bar and into the northern end. That has ended with a point against one of the top 4 sides in the country at St Mary's.
So there we go, they're the highlights from the 1-1 draw against Chelsea on Saturday. Dean, we saw Jan Bednarek play in a slightly different position in that game. What kind of challenge do you expect for him tonight, or in fact the whole defence?
Well, he did. It was an interesting debate probably before the game. We were considering, would Southampton play a three at the back? Would they stick with the form? Would Bednarak go as a right back? I think they interchanged and adapted during the game, if I'm honest. I think it was a back four, but at times when Djenepo got forward, or he would recover, they would move across. So I think he did fine. I think he did okay, against a strong Chelsea team. Mason Mount in the second half kept drifting over into that position, and he had to defend one-on-one in isolated situations against him. Alonso, his threat kind of dampened down second half. And we were just speaking about Djenepo and his performance, especially defensively. And I think that would have been enhanced and influenced by Bednarak, having him behind him, using his experience, talking him through the game, letting him know where he needs to be positionally. So he did fine. But I think the best way for Southampton to play is the four at the back. I think it works. I think when you haven't got Walker-Peters, you lose that attacking threat. So then you just go a little bit more defensive and you keep that foundation strong and you build from there. And Salisu, really, really good performance. Vestergaard came in, looked like he's finding his form again. He seems to be becoming a bit of a leader at the back, really good in stature, but is leading as well. And Salisu, really composed performance. He looked good. He looked strong. The defence looks pretty solid. It's not quite as attacking, like I mentioned, without Walker-Peters, but they're going to have to be on their toes tonight because Leeds are a real attacking threat.
Yeah, definitely. Well, moving from defence to attack, we saw Minamino's goal again there. Adam, he showed such composure when taking that one. That's now 2 in 3 games for him, and it's just the type of threat that Ralph wants in the side now with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, really, Steve. And when you watch the goal again from the weekend, I mean, great ball from Redmond, and just the composure there, just to come inside and the finish with the outside the boot is just cheeky, but also, a player with confidence. And maybe you wouldn't necessarily have expected that from him coming in, relatively cold from having been on the sidelines, mainly at Liverpool for a period of time. I've got to be totally honest. When I heard that he'd signed for Saints on deadline day, I wasn't entirely convinced about the signing. And that wasn't because I didn't think that he had talent and ability, but I felt a bit like he's played so little. Is he going to come in and be better than what they've got, given they're already stacked in those areas, and that the signings they probably needed, in my opinion, were more, in the defensive, in the fullback positions, really. But actually, in fairness to Saints, in fairness to Ralph, and in fairness to Minamino, I mean, what a great impact. And he's a fantastic option for them to have in those attacking areas. And he really does just add that little bit of extra quality and, more than anything, an important option for Ralph. It gives him another change that he can go to that keeps the team fresh and it keeps them unpredictable. And it's a signing that early days, but it's really worked out so far.
Yeah, definitely. Dean, you just mentioned about there being leaders in that Southampton team, especially at the back. It's going to be a tactical battle against Leeds tonight. So players are going to need to keep their discipline. Just how important is that going to be?
Really, really important because Leeds, the way they play, their movement is really, really intelligent. It's very intense. It's fast as well. So there's going to need to be a lot of communication between the players, and that's where the experience comes in. You need to be able to obviously know where the ball is, and you need to know where positionally you are, and you need to know where players are around you. So the discipline and the shape is going to be important because Chelsea at Leeds are a really attacking threat. They move the ball very fast. They play with real good width. They commit bodies forward. They like to press. As soon as they lose the ball, even in attacking areas, they will press and try and win the ball back as quickly as they can. So it's going to take a disciplined performance tonight, but I think the way Leeds play, that will give Southampton opportunities as well. So there's a flip side to it. It's going to be a tough game because I like watching Leeds play, but I think it could suit Southampton playing Leeds because of the way they play. So I think it'll be an entertaining game. I think it'll be a tactical battle, and it should be very, very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're hoping for a good game this evening. We will be having the team news in 3 seconds. 2, 1. Here we go. Here's the team news for Southampton to play Leeds tonight. As we can see, Stu Armstrong, Nathan Tella and Shay Adams all come into the side, with Danny Ings, Moussa Djenepo and Takumi Minamino dropping to the bench, or dropping out of the team. Probably a bit of rotation there due to fatigue. So let's have the Saints starting 11. In goal, we've got Alex McCarthy, we've got Mohamed Salisu, Yannick Vestergaard, Jan Bednarek and Ryan Bertrand completing the back four. Oriol Romeu and our captain James Ward-Prowse in the middle. Stu Armstrong returns to the team alongside Nathan Redmond, Nathan Teller and Shay Adams. And on the subs bench we can see Fraser Forster, Kane Ramsey, Jack Stevens, Kegs Chauke, Alex Jankovic, Dan and Lundalu, Danny Ings, Moussa Djenepo and Takumi Minamino all on the bench there. So bit of a surprise there, gentlemen, right? Adam, what do you make of that one?
Very surprised, Steve. I think it was about 10 minutes ago, wasn't it, that I was saying, yeah, no need to really change it up. And yeah, the front positions have almost all been changed other than Nathan Redmond. I mean, one can only assume that it's kind of driven by a bit of fatigue in the team and what Ralph has seen on the training pitch. I think we know Ralph well enough now that we trust in his decisions, and we have to trust that if he's seen those things in those players that have kind of concerned him that they could keep up the work rate tonight, that he's made the right decisions. I mean, I guess a lot of those positions, they are a bit touch and go with who you pick. In fact, off camera, before the show started, we were having quite a good discussion about, you know, who would your top options be if everybody was fit and on form. And it's a really difficult decision in those front positions. So it kind of is okay to move it around. The one that you kind of want there is Danny. Obviously, he's your talisman. He's the one that really you feel like stays in the team. So that the fact that he's not there, obviously, I think will be a miss for Saints. That said, we've seen Che take on the responsibility and take it on his shoulders before when Danny's not been there. And in a way, it's made him step up in those instances, which is no bad thing. And what an opportunity for Nathan Teller. I mean, what an opportunity for him. Come into the team. This will be his first Premier League start ever. A great chance to make his name. And for him, I hope that he takes the attitude that he's got nothing to lose tonight. Just go out there and just give it absolutely everything he's got. They're playing against a decent team tonight, but a team that Saints are capable of beating. So a great opportunity for him as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Dean, Ralph has decided to shake things up, but on the plus side, it's a pretty strong bench.
It's a very, very strong bench, and I think that could be some of the thinking behind the manager. If you look at Leeds and the way they play, I think one weakness they have is they fatigue during a game. You know, the last 15 to 20 minutes they do tire because of the intensity they play at. So to be able to bring Danny Ings in or Minamino on for 20 minutes when they're fresh, you know, could be a really good tactic if Southampton are still in the game. I think it's quite sensible in what he's done, you know, looking at it in reflection. Both me and Adam said, you know, we didn't think there'd be many changes, but looking at it, he's brought a lot of energy into that front four, which, you know, allowing Southampton to press Leeds when they've got possession of the ball, to be able to try and get to them, put them under pressure, to not allow them to get into that flow, that possession-based game. So that, you know, the players up front with Nathan Redmond, Shay Adams, they can set that off. They can set traps. They can get to the ball quickly. So it could be a good tactic from Ralph. The base of the team, obviously, the core of the team is still very strong, very experienced. But it'd be interesting to see, and it's a great opportunity for Nathan Teller, you know, to get that chance to play at Ellen Road against a really good team. He's going to get space tonight as well, so he'll get an opportunity to run with the ball in one-on-one situations. So I'm looking forward to watching him play.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we move on, let's get some comments from you, the fans watching at home, equally as excited as we are here in the studio. We've got Chris Gunner on Facebook who said, come on Saints, a very tough game tonight, but he's praying that they play well and the game goes our way. Also, Neil on Facebook has said he thinks it's going to be 2-1 to Southampton, with Minamino to score again and James Ward-Prowse. Christine Addison on Facebook says she'll be watching from Vancouver in Canada. Well, that's one of my favourite places actually Vancouver. Peter on YouTube says he thinks it's going to be an exciting game tonight, and he wouldn't be surprised if it's a 4-4 draw. God, that would be some scoreline. Luke Farrington on YouTube says it's a must-win game tonight because 8 points off of Fulham isn't particularly relaxing. Freddie Harris says she thinks it's going to be a 3-2, or he thinks it's going to be 3-2 to Southampton. Phil Palmer says, listening in from Vietnam, it's 12 midnight over there, so thank you for staying up. Come on, you Reds. And Donald on YouTube says it's a big day for Teller and Let's Go Shea. Yeah, definitely a massive game for Nathan Teller as he starts against Leeds. But it's time now to look at a previous famous win over Leeds at Elland Road, a game that you played in, Dean. It's a 1-0 win from March 2012. We can start to see the extended highlights from the game now. But Dean, you didn't start this match. Was there a mistake on the team sheet or something?
Thanks for reminding that, Steve. Yeah, I think I got dropped a couple of games before this fixture, actually, which is obviously disappointing. You want to play every game and play at Elland Road. I mean, look at the atmosphere with the fans there. So yeah, didn't start the game, but I came on at half time, so still enjoyed playing in it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's an early penalty appeal for Leeds here, Adam, against Southampton. Jose Font with arguably an amazing save.
And the great thing about this game, of course, is that nobody else needed to make any saves either, did they? Because this is obviously the game that Kelvin still dines off of to this day. Anybody who knows Kelvin will tell you. I think he's had a few free meals and a few free drinks off of this match. This was the Kelvin game. But yeah, I mean, even he would have been proud of that one from Jose. I mean, how that's not a penalty. I think we can safely say that now with VAR, that would have been a penalty and perhaps a slightly different game. But yeah, I mean, this game just sticks in my memory so much for the rearguard action that Saints produced in this night at Elland Road. It was incredible. The atmosphere was incredible. Neil Warnock was the Leeds manager, and yeah, you know what you're going to get from him. It's the team is going to play in his mould. The atmosphere was kind of nasty and hard and difficult, and it was one of those nights. It was a real battle, and goodness knows how the ball didn't get in the Saints' net, but it didn't. Yeah,
I mean, were you up there on the night, Adam?
Yeah, I was, and I remember this goal as well. It was a great goal, and it's a slightly unusual one because normally it's Ricky who's the man at the back post for the crosses. He kind of pulled onto some unfortunate fullback and out jumped him at the far post, but he's sort of hanging central here, and I think it's Tadenari Lee with the header back. And well, in the last few weeks, we've pretty much covered the highlights of Tadenari Lee's entire time at Saints with his goal and that header. But what a finish from Ricky that was, Dean. Incredible.
I mean, it's a great finish. It is. And his movement, if you see his movement as the ball goes over his head, he spins out, prepared for the ball back from the header. And it's a great finish. I mean, Ricky strikes the ball so true. But yeah, I don't think we deserved that lead at the time. It was definitely backs against the wall.
Adam mentioned just what the atmosphere was like, but how intense was it playing in that game, Dean, especially with almost facing a barrage for the majority of the game?
Brilliant. I used to love atmospheres like that, and obviously playing at Elland Road and with the Leeds fans, it was always electric, you know. And I think Neil Warnock had only been there a few weeks, may have even been his first home game as Leeds manager. And you couldn't have had two different managers on the touchline, to be honest. You know, Nigel very, very composed and giving calm instructions, and Neil Warnock kicking every ball and almost running onto the pitch. Some choice words of language as well, which was always entertaining. But no, the atmosphere was fantastic. You want to play in them games, and especially with, you know, Kelvin making so many saves and them putting so much pressure on us. It was noise after noise, wave after wave of attack, and it just inspired us, to be honest. It was brilliant holding out that lead. It didn't really matter that we didn't attack much in that game. It was just fantastic to try and keep them out.
Did Nigel say anything to you at half time, considering he took an early lead and then kind of the onslaught didn't stop from Leeds?
Well, it was an interesting one because Morgan and Jack Cook were playing in the centre of midfield, and obviously fantastic players, both very young at the time, and just brought me on. Leeds had Michael Brown playing and Clayton playing. I can't remember Clayton's first name. And they're quite aggressive players, quite vocal. And I wouldn't say they bullied Morgan and Jack, but it was a tough first half for them. And he just came to ask me to come on and just kind of take control of the centre of midfield, try and win some second balls and be a bit more aggressive. So I think the first thing I did on was come on and elbow Michael in a header, which was nice. He had a little bit of a verbal attack on me, and I just said, look, you're not playing against kids anymore, and enjoy the next 45 minutes. So it was good fun. I enjoy them sort of battles. So yeah, it wasn't the most fluent game of football, but I enjoyed it myself.
Yeah,
I love just watching these moments back again. I mean, Leeds already had more chances in one half, just moving into the second half now, than most teams get in a match. There's a great one coming up as well, isn't there, where Kelvin produces about 4 saves in one. Now, this is it, and that's the one that you always have to remind him that he did come and make a complete hash of the cross in the first place. But then what a double save. To make the save and then get up and push it out. I mean, that is incredible, that one.
I mean, the game will obviously be remembered for the saves that Kelvin made, but should Leeds have done better? Because they've squandered quite a lot of chances here.
To be honest, I think the saves, Kelvin made some brilliant saves. He really did. I think there's probably only 1, maybe 2 opportunities. I think Webber has an opportunity where he probably should score, and he just doesn't connect with it right. I think it's coming up in a minute where Fraser Richardson tries to clear it with his right foot and should go with his left and kind of sets him up, but Kelvin puts pressure on him. But again, like Adam said, a double save there was unbelievable. And I think there's one that's brilliant coming up, where there's a goalmouth scramble, which is
that's the seed one, isn't it?
I mean, I'm on the line. I think I'll make about 4 jumps and don't get anywhere near it. It hits the bar. I mean, it's brilliant.
I think it hits the bar twice, doesn't it? Does it? Kelvin makes the save onto the bar, and then they hit the bar again. But that's the one where it's just like battering. They're just like, it's like 11 men of Saints lined up on the goal line almost, and they're just kicking it as hard as they can, hoping that it's going to end up in the goal. But
yeah, we'll be seeing that one in a sec, I think. Adam, did you manage to chat to Neil Warnock after the game at all? Was he absolutely seething?
Yeah, he was absolutely... he was furious. I think he felt like an injustice had been served, really, which... Well, it had. I mean, you can't have that many chances and concede that many chances and expect to come away winning a game. But, fair play to Saints. I think the one thing is when you see the siege moment in a minute and the celebrations after that siege moment, the players grabbing each other like by the face, and it goes to show the character and the spirit that was in that team. And sometimes that takes you a long way. There are games like Saints outclassed opponents, that team did so regularly, but there are other times when you've just got to dig in. Like Dean said, it's not your night perhaps in terms of attacking, but you've just got to make it happen as best you can and find a way. And that's what the best teams do. And this team had a great habit of doing it, hence why I went through the divisions twice. And the character and the spirit that is on display is pretty evident for everybody to see in a performance like this one.
Yeah, Dean, Adam's saying there that the players were celebrating just to not concede a goal, but what was the atmosphere in the dressing room like after winning the game?
It was unbelievable. I think there was a lot of laughs just because we'd realised we got away with one, really. It was just, we didn't deserve to win the game. But they're the games that, like Adam said, if you're going to be successful, if you're going to win championships or get promoted, you need to win. I mean, this is the chance coming up where it's about 4 times on the bar. Look at this. This is brilliant. This is Sunday League football at its best.
What do you actually remember from this one, Dean? It's all over in a flash. What do you remember from that?
Well, I was actually, if you watch it, I'm on the goal line. So like, I run back to the goal line. So I'm there and I'm jumping, one on the header there. I'm jumping again, getting nowhere near the ball.
You're miles behind the line.
It's just, I think there was a lot of noise going on, a lot of shouting that blocked the ball, runners. But it was fantastic. And I think we almost got to the point in the game where we knew we weren't going to concede. You just almost think as though they're not going to score tonight. Whatever they do, no matter how many opportunities they have, it was a great result. And in the dressing room afterwards was fantastic. Obviously there, Kelvin getting so much celebrations, so much congratulations and fully deserved because he had a brilliant game. He really, really did. So, and that was... I think there was probably only 10 games to go, maybe towards the end of the season. It was quite close to the end of the season, so it was a really, really important win for us. And you can see the team spirit, and Cal there is trying not to smile. He knows he's had a good game, so it'd be interesting to see what score he got on the paper, to be honest. Did he get a 10 or did he get a 9?
I think I have a feeling he might have got a 10. It was one of the best goalkeeping performances. I mean, I've ever seen. It was a crazy, crazy night, as we said, and Dean was right, and it felt like that in the stands as well. Watching, I think at about 70 minutes, despite the fact that Leeds were pretty much in Saints' penalty area from the majority of the second half. We were just like, they're just not going to concede. There's no way that Leeds can score. You can't do all of that and then expect to score. There were just weird nights that happen like that in football. And Kelv came out afterwards to do the press interviews as well. And I remember him really doing his best to give off the calmness personified vibe. But you could tell that even he knew deep down that was a pretty special day. And like I said, I think it's one. This is probably his finest hour for Saints, really. Despite everything he achieved, all those games he played, just that one day, I think he shows that highlight reel to his kids quite often, I imagine.
Well, we used to have a debrief on a Monday after the game, and all the players would come in and obviously show highlights of the game, what we'd done well. We'd have a discussion on it, and I just remember Calvin walking in like last in that, swaggering in, thinking, it's going to be an enjoyable meeting. I think there's going to be a lot of highlights of me. So, yeah, it was, a brilliant performance. It really was, but a big result as well at that time of the season.
Yeah, definitely a famous night up at Ellen Road for Southampton there. But let's get back to the matters at hand. But before we do, we've got a couple of comments here from people watching us on the social channels. Russ on Facebook said, tonight could be the making of Shay Adams. Mark Carter also says, no Ings is a worry, but hopefully we'll grab a 1-0 win. Jeff Bennett says, Teller has earned his shot. He's had some good performances off the bench. Lewis Elliott said, Kelvin versus Leeds, and lots of love heart emojis. Yeah, absolutely outstanding performance there. Martin City says this is a good call, assuming we start okay. Gives Ralph options off of the bench. Steve Corcoran says glad Teller's getting a start. Obviously, some players are tired and getting a deserved rest. Right, so let's move on to the matters at hand. But before we do discuss today's game, let's have a little look at the league table to see where we are. It's going to be 12th versus 14th tonight. You can see Southampton there with Leeds a couple of places above them. Dean, a win would take us above Leeds tonight. Is that the sort of thing that they'll be saying in the dressing room then before the game? How Ralph will be geeing the boys up?
I think the players will be very aware of it. It's an incentive to try and win the game, obviously. I think it will be more the fact of the Southampton trying to get back to winning ways after stopping the run of defeats with a solid performance against Chelsea and a good earned point to maybe just get back to winning games, to feel that feeling of winning a football match. So it would definitely be mentioned and it would be talked about between the players. It's something that will motivate you and inspire you as you're playing the game, thinking, okay, we can go above our rivals we're playing today, and that's important. But it's a tough test today, but like I've mentioned, a good opportunity for Southampton because Leeds are a good team, but they will give Southampton opportunities. But to move up to, I think it potentially, with a big result, it could be into 11th place. But it just gets us closer to the top 10, and that's really important. We spoke about it a lot this season with going top of the league and being around the European places, then dropping a little bit lower. I think a good cup run, which we're having, and we've got an excellent draw, and to finish in the top 10 in this unique season where teams are beating other teams, which wouldn't normally happen during a normal season, I think a top 10 finish would be great, and this could start that. It really could, and March is an important month with the fixtures coming up. So a good result today, building off the Chelsea game, will be really important.
Yeah, Adam, we asked you before the Wolves game how you assess the league table. Since then, we've picked up 1 point, but we've not really dropped below a lot of teams. We're kind of in and around or very close points to a lot of teams around us. How do you assess the league now?
Well, I mean, I think the aim for Saints has to be, as Dean alluded to there, is now, I think the target is try and get a top half finish. I think that would be really good from where Saints are now. Reality is the kind of top 7, that ship has sailed, I think. I think it's going to take something remarkable to reach that now. I mean, you look at 7th place, is 10 points ahead of Saints with the games starting to run away a little bit. I think that's probably too far away. I mean, I know people have mentioned where Fulham are, because Fulham have picked up a bit of form. But I think realistically, there's a big gap between Saints and Fulham still. And there are a lot of teams between Fulham and Saints. So I'm not overly concerned looking over the shoulder as well. So I think for Saints, it's that, can they just breach the top half of the table? That's not going to be easy, because like 9th, 10th, you're looking at Tottenham, Arsenal, teams that haven't had a great season, but they've got a lot of quality, and you expect them to continue to collect results, maybe get bits of form where they'll win a few games in a row. They're those sort of teams because of the players they've got. So then you're looking at who would drop out potentially of the top 10. So it's not an easy call to make that leap and to get into the top half, but I think it's where Saints have got to aim. It's got to be their target, because otherwise they're just going to get mired in the middle. And while it's still been a good season, and with the cup run, I think you would take it. It would just be a little bit deflating if the cup kind of comes to an end, maybe at this, if it the semi-final stages, and Saints finished 15th or 16th. That would feel a little bit deflating given the start. So I think Saints have just got to try and get up some momentum again and keep it. And I think that aiming for a top half finish, aiming for 10th, is a really good target for that, because it's not unrealistic from where they are, but it's still going to take a good run to achieve. So I think that's probably a good target for them to look at.
Yeah, Dean, you mentioned earlier in the show how Leeds are very much an attacking team. They've had 343 shots this season, which is exactly 100 more than Southampton have had. How are Saints going to defend against that tonight, given the way that Leeds play?
I mean, that's an amazing stat for a team that's been promoted as well. They're a very, very good team, Leeds. They like to play with a lot of width. They do leave themselves exposed, but they do get a lot of bodies forward. The wide players, they love switching play, Leeds. They get the control possession one side of the pitch, they switch it to the other side as quick as they can and try and isolate fullbacks with one-on-one situations with their attacking players, and then play nice combinations in the middle of the pitch, 1-2s, and try and get the ball into the box for Bamford. So it's very, very difficult, because their movement's very good and their movement's very, very quick, and they're all comfortable in possession of the ball. Every player is happy to receive the ball, is happy to have the ball. And also when they do give it away in the opposition's half, they press very quickly to try and win it back as quickly as they can, close as they can to the opposition's goal to attack again. So that high tempo is very, very difficult. So Southampton are going to have to hold a really good shape. The wide players are going to have to help the fullbacks out defensively, so they don't get isolated and they don't get doubled up on. That's going to be important. And then when Southampton get the ball, that's when their opportunity is. So they can get the ball quickly. And I think that's why maybe the manager has put Teller in the team, has put Shea Adams back in the team, has brought Armstrong back in the team, that they're all quick players. They can all run with the ball. Nathan Redmond can get the ball and run with the ball. And Southampton tonight may have opportunities where they haven't of late to attack the opposition in isolated situations, one-on-one. So Teller may get a one-on-one with Luke Ayling at right back, which is brilliant. Shea Adams may get a one-on-one with Cooper at the centre half. And I think maybe that's why Ralph has made the changes. So it's going to be really interesting. And I think there will be goals tonight. But it's going to take a very disciplined display by Southampton defensively.
Yeah, Adam, Leeds haven't actually drawn a game since November. Their form's maybe a little bit erratic. They tend to win a couple, then lose a couple. How do you rate them as opponents tonight?
Well, they're having a great season. Definitely. I mean, a very impressive season from them coming into the league. Really good. They've been enjoyable. They've been a great addition to the Premier League, I think. Not only are they obviously a big club, but they're good to watch. The style they play is really interesting, and the results kind of add to the character of it in a way from a storyline point of view, because it is that kind of you win or lose type mentality they've got going on, and that's sort of really in the style that they play as well. They play a brave style of football. They're not cowardly on the ball. They're not often seeking to just shut opponents down like some promoted teams might do. They're a good watch. They're enjoyable. but you never quite know what you're going to get from them. And that's one of the things that makes them enjoyable to watch. But it must also make them a little frustrating to support at times. And it makes them very unpredictable opponents because you're not quite sure how they're going to turn up and what they're going to be like. So from Saints' point of view, it's potentially a great chance because that's the kind of team that Leeds are. They will go tonight. They will be thinking, we want to win this game. They won't be thinking about coming out of this with a point. So that might open up chances for Saints, as Dean said as well. I think they're an interesting team, Leeds. I've really enjoyed them this season, and I think this has got the makings of a good game tonight.
You're talking about Saints creating chances. Well, Leeds have actually conceded the most goals from set pieces this season, and only West Ham have scored more from set pieces than Saints have. So, Dean, will James Ward-Prowse be rubbing his hands together tonight?
I think he will, and this will be one thing that the manager and the coaching staff would have identified, and they would have worked hard on the movement of the players with it, in the box from set pieces, because if Leeds don't defend well against set pieces and they concede goals from set pieces, there's no one really better in the division that delivers a ball like James Ward-Prowse, who can put it into an area. So it's all down to the players' movement. It's down to the timing of the players. And you've got to think, Vestergaard is such a physical presence. If he gets the run on his opponent, he's going to get an opportunity at goal. Salisu's a good size. Bednarek's a good size. Shea Adams a good size. So there's going to be options from the set pieces in terms of attacking the ball. And like I mentioned previously, Southampton probably will get a lot of set pieces tonight because they will get in them situations where they're taking players on. So there will be more fouls tonight. So that could be the best route to goal for Southampton. And hopefully with James Ward-Prowse's delivery, he can put it on the money. And I could see Vestergaard, getting a goal tonight from a really good delivery and a really good run and a powerful header.
Yeah, Adam, what do you think of the Leeds boss, Marcelo Bielsa? I don't necessarily need a character reference, but is he the sort of guy that you'd like to have interviewed week on week?
Yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting guy. Got a lot of very interesting things to say, that's for sure. And those are the kind of characters you want. And the team, we mentioned with Neil Warnock earlier, the teams often play in the mould of their manager. They kind of adopt their style, their personality somehow seeds through into the way the team play as well. And I think Leeds have got a bit of that. I mean, the guy's a character. It's a well-studied. He's an interesting guy. He obviously is a deep thinker around the game of football as well. And the kind of way that he set the team up, the way they operate, is a very interesting way. It's a different way of doing things than a lot of other managers, the approach a lot of other managers take. And it's been really good to see. And I think, I've worked with 18 managers when I was at Saints, which is shocking in some ways, but they were all so different, and they were all had their own foibles, whatever they may be, both positive and negative. And and I think that Bielsa is one of those that definitely falls into the interesting character category.
Is it tough to interview a manager who's always speaking to a translator? I presume you'd have spoken to Poch at the time when he needed one.
Yeah, Pochettino was good. To be honest, you get into a bit of a habit with it after a while. It's quite stifling to start with, and it can stifle press conferences because a lot of people, a lot of journalists might just turn up. They might only cover Saints once a season, so they turn up, and it's that kind of getting used to the familiarity of it. Whereas when it's sort of the regulars, as it were, that are there for all the games, it's not actually that hard. You kind of get into a bit of a routine of how it works. A bit like people now doing Zoom calls. There's kind of a Zoom etiquette that you kind of end up adopting, where you don't talk over each other, and that kind of thing. And it's sort of similar with dealing with a translator as well. And I mean, Pochettino's translator, David Salas, was a great guy as well. And so we got to know him, and he became a bit like one of the regulars as well with the team. And Pochettino was quite an open guy, so it wasn't that difficult with Pochettino. He didn't make it difficult most of the time, other than when he wanted to avoid answering a question. Then he made it extremely difficult. But most of the time, he was good value. So yeah, it was an interesting experience with a translator. And when the translator's gone, you're grateful because it feels easier. But yeah, you get on with it, and like I said, you just get into this rhythm of how it works, and it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's a great little tactic to avoid some hard questions there, I bet. Before we wrap things up, gentlemen, let's just get your final thoughts on tonight and score predictions. Dean, what do you think it's going to be tonight?
Well, I've mentioned I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. I think it's two good footballing teams that play a really good style. I want to go for lots of goals. I want to predict lots of goals, but I usually get that wrong, so I try to stay away with that. I've got a feeling of something like a 3-2 to Southampton, but I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Southampton. All
right, Dean saying 2-1. Adam, do we think it's going to be a goal fest tonight?
I'm not sure I'm going with the person who commented earlier for the 4-all. I think that might just be too outlandish, but if he's got a quid on it and it comes in, fair play, he's going to be laughing tonight. I actually think, like Dean, I think it's going to be a good, entertaining game. I think Saints are trying to take steps in the right direction after some, a pretty chastening run that was ended against Chelsea. I don't know that they'll definitely be in a position to win this, but I think that they'll put in a good performance. So I'm going to say one of those rare Leeds draws we just talked about, maybe 1-1, I think.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, gentlemen. We'll speak to you after the game. It's around about half an hour to go until kick-off at Ellen Road as Southampton take on Leeds United. Do join us after the match for the final whistle, where we'll all be back to discuss the major talking points from the match. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you then.